dumedise marara ke hetsa go utlwa gore gate ga ke supi marara mangwe ga ba kopa go ira di-supplementary mme ke atle ke ithekere gongwe ke a leba yana maybe what we should do marara ga o batla supplementary ka gore ga gongwe ke kgona gore ke seka ke a go bona ka gore marara mangwe ga a batla go ira supplementary o tla ba riana hela letsogo a kere ga a riana hela nna ka ke ka le bona gongwe maybe a re ireng jana marara ga batla go ira supplementary maybe gongwe o tobetse ana bore supplementary a ga go botoka yalo marara I think go botoka yalo ka ra gongwe ke kgona gore ke seka ka go bona right a re simoleng the business of today Khosi Katshana
ke a leboga modulasetilo mme ke teke go dumedise le matona jaaka no supile gore potso tsa ga state president o tabase gongwe re tana mara dibetsa pelenyana ke a leboga.
Thank you Khosi Katshana. Marebe question makare tla boela go yone Khosi Tumaeletse.
Question number 29 still. Oh, this is today. Question number 2 still.
Thank you, Khosi Tumaeletse. Honorable Minister of Lands and Agriculture.
Ke a dumedisa borara ke a dumedisa modulasetilo wa ntlo ya dikgosi ke dumedisa ke ikobile hela thata mme ka tsela e ntseng jalo ke supehela gore ke lebogela potso ya ga kgosi e botsang thata go leka go baakanya seemo se re le mo go sone sa kanamo ya malwetse a harologanyeng a supang a tare a pesa kobo ka letsoba mo lehatsheng la Botswana mme ke supe jaana kgosi gore boammaaruri jwa kgang jaaka o tshwenyegile gore mente le ene o tshwenyegile ka seemo se se ntseng jalo sa gore meno go ka seke go bewe batho ba ba ka helelang ba itebagantse le go lebelela gore dinama tse di crossang ko di bordereng a gona le tshekatsheko e tseneletseng gore ga di ka ke tsa anamisa bolwetse mo lehatsheng la Botswana mme bokhutswaneng jwa kgangela kgosi ke gore maikalelo le maikemisetso a ga gormente ha ke soboka kgang ya gago ke supela gore gormente o ikaeletse go simolodisa mo go teng ke di border inspectorate ba le gore ke ba batla bong ba tsintse magoboka dikitso le batho ba ba na le kelelelo ya ditiragalo ba ba itutetseng gore setlhare se ka tweng go sa gaseng bolwetse ebile ke sehe se se ka tsena mo Botswana ke sehe se se ka sekeng sa tsena ba batla ba itutetseng gore nama ha go twena le bolwetse ntse jaana ba rutetswe go na le ba rutetsweng ka dinama jalo gore ba bo ba ka tlhotlhomisa ba bona mme ba tla bo go maphata a harologanyeng a tla ba le gone ko bordereng kgosi go bona gore diemo tse di a hemiwa ga ke batle go nankolola jaaka kgosi rile a simolola hela a supa gore nako ga ya re ema sente ke ka supa hela yana gore ke maikelo a ga gormente gore a dire sone seo kgosi ke a leboga.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mlastilo. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mlastilo. Nyani kere ke lena ke dire supplementary hela kere tona ke ukuile hela metso gore muaka tini kere raiso awaraba o libile seemo sa gompie go gore re tlhasetswe ke bolwetse jwa tlhako le molong kana o bua dio tse di tletang kana re solehetsa gore batho bao ba tla nna gone mo bogauhing. Ke a leboga.
Honorable Minister.
boammaaruri hela ke jone dikgosi a bobuang gompieno jaaka re bua jaana ga se gore go thelela ga gona sepe batho ba tshwarwa ka dinama ko di-bordereng maabane yana ha re le ka ko bo breakos ba bangwe ebile nna ba re tlaleela kana ba re reportela gore go tsere nama e mahura mo go ene ya tshubiwa a lebile a tswa pelo tota gore nama e o e bonye ka tshokolo mme sone seo se supa gore batho ba ba ko di-bordereng bao ba theogela kgosi mme gone go na le sone se ne ke bua ka sone se tla bo e le sa long term gape se tsepame gape se tseneletse le ko teng mo ditlhotlhomisong. Ke a leboga.
Kgosi Tumailetse.
Kgosi ba be covered my supplementation to nice to get out. Ke a leboga. Thank you.
Thank you, Kgosi Tumailetse. Kgosi Dingalo.
Thank you, Modulasetilo. Potso ke ya boraro.
Honorable Minister of Transport and Infrastructure.
Ke a leboga, Chairman. Dumelang borara. Mr. Chairman, Air Botswana's tickets prices are influenced mainly by operating cost, aircraft availability, crew availability, route economics, passenger demand, airport and navigation charges, fuel, maintenance, and other variable costs. Under the Air Botswana Act, Air Botswana prescribes tariffs for transport services within the approval of the minister. Fare adjustments must therefore take into account airlines' commercial sustainability, affordability considerations, operation costs, market conditions, applicable regulatory requirements, and ministerial approval. At present, there are no blanket fare reduction programs. However, Air Botswana periodically reviews its fares to ensure that they remain commercially sustainable while also taking affordability into account. The more immediate priority is to restore schedule reliability and increase available seat capacity, as improved capacity and operational stability may assist in moderating cost pressure over time. Where commercially feasible, the airline may continue to consider promotional fares, advanced purchase fares, and other targeted fare products, provided these do not undermine the airline's financial sustainability. Mr. Chairman, Air Botswana has noted that some countries apply differentiated domestic travel fares for citizens and non-citizens, particularly where government subsidies or public service obligations are in place. The Air Botswana Act permits cooperation with the approval of the minister to prescribe The Air Botswana Act permits the cooperation with the approval of the minister to prescribe tariffs for air transport services and to prescribe different tariffs or methods of charge for different classes, categories, areas, and places. However, any proposal to vary fares between citizens and non-citizens will require careful policy, legal, financial, and competition assessment. It should not be introduced as an ad hoc commercial measure. If government wish to pursue such a model, it will be more appropriate to do so through a transparent and legal defensible framework with a clear eligibility criteria, budgetary provision where a subsidy is required, and compliance with applicable civil aviation and competition requirements. Part 3. Mr. Chairman, the main reason for the recent delays and schedule disruptions have been crew capacity constraints, including the lapse or expiry of required crew recency checks, validation or regulatory currency, reduced aircraft availability, and ongoing repatriation and registration of aircraft from Namibia into Botswana. To stabilize operations, Air Botswana has introduced an interim schedule aligned to available crew and aircraft capacity. A training and recency recovery program is underway, including simulator and online training. First group of crew is scheduled to undergo training in South Africa from the 21st of June 2026, and arrangements are being made for further crew training in July of 2026. The airline also is progressing the repatriation and registration of aircraft from Namibia into Botswana. The process is expected to be completed around mid-July of 2026, subject to relevant technical and regulatory approvals. The airline expects schedule reliability to improve progressively as crew return to regulatory currency, aircraft availability improves, and normal schedule is restored. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Supplementary, Mr. Chair.
Khosi Puso Gaborone.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. Ke ne ke re ke ipoletse hela jaaka Motswana hore ha minister a bua ka bo go leka go improve capacity le di constraints tsa ntseng a di bua gore yone Botswana in terms of aircraft e rena le yone ka gore Batswana bone tsholofelo a bone ke gore go ne ga rekwa difofane tse dingwe go leka go tokahatsa le go oketsa mo nakong ya gompieko re bua ka difofane tse kae tse di berekang tse leng gore go heletsa ano go kgoreletsa tsamao ya mesepele mo re patelesang gore go re schedule ja lona Honorable Minister gore ka boa maru yana jo botletseng tota ke tse kae tse leng gore di operational ka gore tsholofelo a rona ne le gore mo go rekeng re le ka go tokahatsa seng a re tokahaditse kana re ile gore go nne wese ke a leboga.
Honorable Minister.
Ke a leboga Khosi. Di thataro mme go bereka tse pedi mathata a teng ke goreng jaaka ke sotswa go bua di pilot tsa rona kana bone ba kgweetsi le bone ba itsanape ba difofane tsonetse ke bone ba eleng gore over nako gangwe le gape ba thokana le gore ba ruruhadiwe kana certification yaanong di-process tsone tse dintseng ke tsone tse di dirang gore be re iphitlhela le gore yaanong schedule sa gokotsega ka gore le tsone di-aircraft they have to be checked le tsone di-personnel le bone ba tshwanetse re ba le mo maemong a letelesega mme Botswana ntse tsweletse ra ka Khosi ka tsone di-strategy tsa rona tse re buang ka tsone gore go leka go trainwa batho di-pilot go leka go trainwa botlhe ba eleng gore ba tlhokagala mo boitsanapeng ba go tsamaisa tsone di-aircraft gore re boele mo seemo mme hela yone Botswana e ntse ya thotsa Khosi ke a leboga.
Khosi Dingalo.
Thank you, Mdlastilo. Nya ke a go utlwa tona mme a potso nka e botsa gore o ra ro rugatsa gore bone ba ntse le ba le re la ba trainer go South Africa kwa ha that train he di la no sengwe se nna normal al ra gore di route tse dingwe tsa international tse le sa di tsamaye re ta bona le di tsamaya ka re humpena kana gona le route international route ya Joburg ga e bereke gona le a Gaborone ka sane ga e bereke humpena Botswana kana e dira di domestic hela mme di domestic sa di dira ka go renka batla go itse gore a go re seemo seo sa go cover domestic hela kana le international. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Ke a leboga Khosi. Tota solohelo ke goreng ha bothe ba ba ruruhaditsweng ba tsamaile through the training le gone gore di hohane tse di ko Namibia di goroga ka kwano solohelo ke gore seemo se ta tokagala mme go trainiwa mo ga se ga gore le gore go tobo go trainela gore ba ba dire di-domestic route ela go trainelwa goreng o kgone go isa sone se gogane le tsone di-international routes di tea boela ka nako gore di-challenges tsa Botswana di dintsi hela thata mme tsholelo ke gona hela goreng ha capacity di tilo di tala kana ke re di tilo di tala mo crafting go nna motho gore dithwathwa le tsone di boele ko tlase mme ano a re iphitlhela segoane se nna se tsamaya ke a occupancy rate e leng gore ya thobaetsa go nna dingalo mme tsholelo ke gore ha bothe ba ba trainwang ba tswa training seemo se tanna sentse se tokagala se ke a leboga
Khosi Dingalo.
nyame ke re ke se ka e sala morago thata ka gore ke a leboga tona mme la ke sa wele mme ke re mme ke kopela gore o nthatswenyati kore e Botswana e na le mathata modulasetilo ke a botsa le gale gore ko batla go bolele nto ye gore a ware seemo sa gore gompieno ga o ya Kasane ga o simolo ya ko Mau kana gompieno e Botswana se se dira ga o ya Kasane ga o tsholetse ga o lenda Mau pele ga o na o lenda Mau pele ko no ya ko Kasane gore ga gona straight route ke batla gore o nthamaletse gore route ya Kasane kana Kasane ga borone mokgwa wa renke o ra re wa go hela ke yone potso ya bohelo. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
ke a leboga Khosi tota re tshwanetse gore re lebelle mo go teng domestic connectivity le regional connectivity yaanong ga dipalo tsa rona ga segane se tswa ga borone se ya Kasane se tse go itshupa gore di kwa tlase mme go renka mo buang ka gone gape ke gone goreng re se ka rana le dihogane tse pedi tse di tswang se tswa mo gaborone sa Kasane se sengwe se tswa mo gaborone se a Mau go na le gore se renke jaaka o bua ke yone mangwe a maiteko a goreng bogolo re boloke se leng goreng re na le sone mme dipalo ga di leta ke tsaya ke re rutio e ka thamalala hela mme ke tsone di-strategy tse ke buang gore ga dihogane tse dingwe di ka goroga tsone tse pedi tse di kwa Namibia di goroga tsholelo ke gore seemo se ta tokagala le bone ba e leng gore ba train ga bata go tanna go ntse go tokagala ka bonya mme hela yone jaaka ke bua le wena jaaka ke itse gore wa dumela gore Botswana ya thotse ga se diphetogo tsa teng ga di ka ke tsa nna hela gone go hela ka ponyo a leito mme re na le tsholelo a goreng all the interventions that have been put forward di ta diragadiwa mme di ta tokagatsa seemo mme gone go renka re go lebelele gabedi gore regional local connectivity is very very key kana domestic connectivity bo thokwa hela thata ke a leboga
Supplementary.
Khosi Khama.
So is it not true, Honorable, is it not true, Honorable Minister, that Air Botswana has not been complying with the requirements for aircraft and pilots proficiency? That's why Unubu got training and everything that's going on, which should have been done before. So on a regular basis, certain regulations that they have to follow, they have not been complying with those requirements, both for pilots and aircraft. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
ke a leboga chairman ke a leboga Khosi nnete ke gore compliance ya thokagala yaanong go setse go rometse ba bangwe gore ba ye go trainwa so that ba kgone go nna le teta ya go isa tsone di-aircraft tse ke an international requirement so it's a regular compliance check that you have to meet so yaanong ga ba tsamayana we stand to be disqualified would be the right word but we need to be compliant all the time di-pilot tsa rona kana bona ba huisang di-aircraft le bothela ba e leng gore ba ba tlhokagala ka boitseanape jwa go isa diplane ba tshwanetse gore gangwe le gape ebe ba ile gore ba train ka gore ga wa tshwanela go traina hela gangwe hela o ema hela gone go isa diplane ke boitseanape bo eleng gore gangwe le gape o tshwanetse wa go ithokotsa yaanong gore a ga se gore ke nnete ga ba comply ke tsa ke re we are in the process of complying. That's why the pilots are undergoing training now and all the relevant personnel.
Kosi Masalila, Koparona Wahelo, Putsoeka, it looks like we're going to be getting the same answer all the time. Kosi Masalila.
Dumela modula stilo, dumela minister. Na mathata me ke a bona a mantona gone e botswana ya tura. Ha di price ne di ka hokotsega, kgang ye minister a buang ya re plane ta betswa ha isena batho kana isatala ine ka siki idiragale. Ka gore ha di price di a kotas bogologolo ba gaetshong ne re ntse re dirisa plane gompeno ko Francis Town kana eta gabedi mo bikeng gona le malatse eleng gore go thelele ga gona flight le ha o ithaganetse batla gore ka takwane ko ga borone ga gona le ha ile flight ke gore ke yone ya maung maloba ke palame ha ke tswa Cape Town ke be ke tswa mo ga borone ke ya maung ke ya kasana ke thotse mo plane ke tswa gore ga go netani ya no
order
Kostipe ke no sa no Kosi Masalila hetsa go bua hela la lo nore
she is out of order modesty. What do I follow up, not statements?
Na ona tlawela a reng continue Kosi Masalila.
Nyame ke wela hela kere aba hokotse di price ke kopa gore ba hokotse di price gore batho ba khono ba tsana ba khono palama Botswana.
So gore ne se potso a kere such nele ampo batlara. Honorable Minister.
Clarity, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, clarity. I think Kosi Tsipe is right. Hana una gakolla, ga se gore una a dira gore Kosi Masalila se ana se kwa sene se le phoso me una gakolla gore o tshwantse go supplement not go tsenya a statement. O tsamaile lobaka lo lelele ke sentse Kosi a bonye gore go maleba gore a gakolle gore he should pose a supplementary question not a statement. Thank you, Chair.
No, boamaru ke kgakole entle. And just maybe a reminder to Mararama gore ga ore supplementary wa bora o botsa potso. O botsa potso gape ye e le baganeng le se go buiwang ka sone. Thank you very much Kosi Tsipele Kosi Mundu. Kosi Dingalo.
Denya ke a leboga tona mme hela gore go ntshupetsa gore ha o ya ka capacity international route ora re ta pala ke a leboga modula stino.
Thank you Kosi Dingalo. Kosi Khama.
Deferred, I think, to later.
Let's rather maybe wait until maybe he may come. We'll defer it if he does not come. Kosi Makanga.
Question number 5.
Honorable Minister of Health.
Ke a leboga modula stilo ke a dumedisa Marara ke ke maitshwarelo gore ne re sa bonala maabane ne re kopile ba kaolengwe gore batho ba re emele ke maitshwarelo ka seo modula stilo me potso ya botlhano e botswa yalo ka ba ba kolotiwang di overtime allowance kana go ne ga nna le gone go huduga ga ditirelo dingwe tsa primary health care go tswa ko Ministry of Health go ya go ba local government jaanong matshwenyego a go siame ha ke ba ba kolotiwang le di driver overtime ke re se thulaganyo e leng teng ke gore ba kopanya di-overtime tsotlhe tse di kolotiwang di-drivera throughout di-district tsotlhe tsa rona e tla ra ba hetsa yone thulaganyo eneo be ba tisa ko Ministry of Health e be re kgona gore re duele bao ba e leng gore ba kolotiwa ga re lebile re solela gore re tabe re heditse ka thulaganyo e by the 31st of August monongwaga ga ke le ba bontlha bongwe ja potso yone e bualo ka di-ambulance gore go na le thaelo ya di-ambulance mme pego e re amogetseng go siame ke gore ko Kasane re na le di-ambulance di le 22 tse e leng gore di a bereka in good condition mme re na le pego ya tse tharo hela tse e leng gore ke tsone tse sa tsamaye mme re emetse madi hela gore ga bona le bogora gore le tsone re di busetsa mo tseleng ka leboga modulasetilo
Khosi Makanga.
Ke a leboga modulasetilo ke a leboga tona.
Khosi Kachana.
Question number 6, Modulasetilo.
Honorable Minister of Child Welfare and Basic Education. The curriculum ngwana ba swa ba tla tla late. Ga isa tla kere. Re tla isetsa ko pele. Thank you Khosi. Khosi Tuma eletse.
Question number 7, Modulasetilo.
Honorable Minister of Health.
ke kopa maitshwaro la modulasetilo ke kopa go ithulaganya motsotsonyana hela be re boela ko gone ke a kopa ikobi
I can just give you 2 seconds or but otherwise it close on go heta. If you can find it quickly maybe reka
Yes.
right at the end. That's the problem.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes. Modulasetilo ke kopa gore re etole re tla boela ka gone ke a leboga
Khosi Tuma eletse re kopa go etlola
ya ntla maemela Modulasetilo thank you
Khosi Khama.
Deferred, Mr. Chairman.
Or rather Rebe and home in case he comes.
Deferred.
There. Khosi Monyapele.
Question number 9.
Honorable Minister of Lands and Agriculture.
ke a leboga modulasetilo wa ntlo ya dikgosi ke go leboge motsi wa potso kgosi ke bo ke arabela ka bokhutshwane kgosi o batla go itse gore anako ga ya tla gore gormente a itepatepanye le diemo tsa gore ene le morahe ba partnere mo diemong tsa go ntsha dijo mo lehatsheng la Botswana mme karabo hela e khutshwane kgosi ke gore nako ga ya bolo go tla sa le itsile mme ebile gormente ga a bolo go dira jalo go inakanya le go partnera le setšhaba ka tsela e ntseng jalo kgosi o ka gakologelwa gore go na le kgang ye ya gore gormente o ntsha dipeo a di neela morahe a di tsaya kwa a di tsayang teng mme morahe ba tsaya dipeo tseo free mme morahe one o ntsha lehatshe le go tla lemelwa mo go lone gormente o provide subsidy ya diterekere kana ditšhukudu tsa temo go lo mo ke partnership kgosi ha go ntse jalo gore goromente a bone gore maduo a tswa mo ditshimong tse di ntseng jalo go na le gore ha gongwe bangwe ba adime madi di-loan go leka gore ba tokagatse dikgang tsa bone tsa temo tsa go ntsha dijo tse di lekanyeng mme ebile gape kgosi o tla gakologelwa gore le mo dinakong tse di hitileng go ne go na le mananeo a pele a le a bo sloka bo arapo aldepu gata go tsena bo lemedi gata go tsena bo lemandi pele temo letlotlo gompieno re mo go lemang dijo mme mananeo a hela a ka tshobokolo goromente o na ntse a na le seabe sa go bona gore o facilitator difamara a ba nna le karolo ya go bona gore mme difamara ba nna le gore le bone ba kgona gore temo e ba solegele molemo ka bokhutshwane jo bo ntseng jalo kgosi ke tshwanetse gore ke go itsise hela gore mme goromente o ebile gape o tsweletse jaanong go na le mananeo a go tlang a tshwana le bo hemp a ile gore goromente o tla ba lebeletse gore batswana ba tsaya karolo mo gone ba ba na le ditshimo tse di tona ba bona gore ba leme jaano e le temo ya boleng jo bo ko godimo e ka ba busetsang so in short hela kgosi ke sa ye kwa le kwa goromente o tsweletse wa partnera mme a gona le ya go ka gwetlang gape gore goromente a partnere go a ko pele o ikemiseditse go dira jalo morago ga ditshekatsheko tse a tla di dirang ke a leboga
Kgosi Monyapele.
Thank you, Mulastilo. Thank you, Minister.
Kgosi Kachana.
Question 10, Mudulastilo.
Honorable Minister of State, President, Defense and Security.
Ke a leboga Modulasetulo ta ke simolola ka go kopa boitshwarelo ne santse ke na le tshwarego ka ko ba IPRM mme gongwe gape ke kopa gore pele o ntetelele Modulasetulo pele ga ke araba ke a kgole nto ya dikgosi gongwe ka ga le tsamaisang dipuisano tsa lona ka teng moangwe ke tsaya gore ba ba nna ba kopana ba reetsa dikgang tsa setšhaba ba ka ithuta go le gontsi ka ga le dirang ka teng le bantu ya dikgosi ka ga le botsang ka teng le ka ga le tsayang tiro ya lona ka thwagalo ka teng ke re tshwanetse gore la kgole mo go seo Modulasetulo ta ke tlhalose ka gore gongwe yo ntetelele Modulasetulo ke bibale ka sekgowa Mr. Chairman, government vehicles currently eligible for home-to-work transportation through official vehicles are cabinet ministers, Speaker of the National Assembly, judges, leader of opposition, chairperson of DIKGOSI, council chairperson, and accounting officers. The consideration for choosing between providing official vehicle and paying an allowance is based on the nature of duty and in particular the extended responsibility associated with the office. Members of DIKGOSI presiding over Major Dikgotla do not qualify for dedicated vehicles. However, they are compensated for mileage claims during the House sitting sessions. The current dispensation is meant to enhance efficiency in the discharge of their duties. Government officials eligible for designated vehicles are not expected to conduct themselves in a manner that compromises good use of their aforesaid vehicles. Any form of misuse of vehicles amounts to misconduct that attracts disciplinary action. Furthermore, such officials are mandated to supervise how the vehicles are used, the recruitment and selections of drivers of these vehicles, is thorough and only candidates who have consistently demonstrated accountability are selected. We have not recorded any cases of misuse for the above-mentioned vehicles during the 2024-2025 financial year. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Khosi Kachana.
Ke a leboga tona, ke leboga modulasetilo. Ke na le potso modulasetilo. Ha gongwe magoko a ga tona kana ke tlhalositse maabane ha gongwe ga a tswe senta le clear mme kutula bua sengwe sa gore there's compensation during house sitting sessions. Ne ke re gongwe a e thatso gore a ora the mileage ye a member of House of Chiefs a hiwang a emela ko stationeng sa go ata kwano kana ora gore ha re ya ka re le gone mo city mo le mo ga borone gore a bua ka which compensation ya teng go no mo le tiro ke a leboga.
Honorable Minister.
Kopiso ya me ke gore ha le tala takwano le neelwa madi la compensate. Thank you.
Khosi Kachana.
Ke a leboga tona, ke a leboga modulasetilo.
Khosi Khumanego.
Question number 11, Mulastilo.
Honorable Minister of Lands and Agriculture.
Ke a go leboga go tsamaisa tiro Khosi. Tota mo tsamaisa dipuisano tsa ntlo ya dikgosi e seng tiro go tawa ko dintshong le ko manyalong mme ka karabo e ka potso ya ga kgosi ke tlhalosela gore jaaka botsa mabapi le gore goromente o gatetse pele go le kana kang ka lenaneo le la a ditsale ke supela gore le lontshilwe ka October 2025 mme lenaneo maikelo le maikemisetso ke go a gore dikgomo di ate jaaka re itse gore tautona o gatella thata maikaelelo a lehatshe la Botswana gore o batla gore dikgomo di ate di ya go tshwara palo e kanang ka 5 million mme e le gore dio tse go lebile gone gore di oketse boleng jwa dijo mo lehatsheng la Botswana le gone go itepatepanya le diemo mme o tshwantse gape ntlo ya itse gore maabane ya na lotse go lontshiwa lenaneo la foda go lema dijo le go dira dijo tse di jisiwang dikgomo mo lehatsheng la Botswana mme lenaneo le wela ka ga tlase ga a ditsale le lengwe lenaneo le le ka tswang lo le itse bokgosi ebile ne le re thusa lo sampe le re thusa mo go lone ke lone lenaneo la go anama ga bolwetse jwa foot and mouth kana ga di ka ke tsa tsala ile gore yaanong di aswa di bolawa ke foot and mouth ga di ka ke tsa tsala ile gore yaanong ra di hula re di katela ka lebaka la foot and mouth so ke mangwe a mananeo a tsweletseng a go leka go bona gore ga gona sepe siru se se welang dikgomo kana le moruo wa kgomo ke tshwantse ka gatelela kgosi gore mo nakong ye ke buang le lona ka yone lenaneo le ikaeletse gore go bo gona le mananeo a ka tlase ga lona a tsweletseng a tsepameng go heta jaaka ntse a tsepame go tshwana le mananeo a go kentela malwetse a dikgomo a dirwe ka nako le go ruta difamara go ba rutuntsha gore nne bone ba ile gore le bone lwa goromente lo tsamaya ko pele ka bone le go ba rutuntsha ka lotsalo lwa dikgomo gore go tsala ga dikgomo go ka dirwa jang go ka dirwa le megotla ko merakeng le mo dipolaseng go bona gore go bereka kgomo motlhogo go ka dirwa ka tsela e ntseng jang go tsengwa gape le gone go sireletsa malwetse a harologanyeng ka dio tse di harologanyeng lengwe lenaneo le re sa le tsentsi ya sente le ke batlang gore ke le gatelele ga kgosi ke la gore kana ha o tsamaya morae o bua ka dikgang tsa bo dikgokong ditholo gore di tsenya malwetse mo dipolasi le mo marakeng a bone mo dikgomong a ke tswantse di isa malwetse mme lengwe la mananeo le gormenta ikela go le dira ke go rotloetsa ministry wa ga Rre Molutsi wa diphologolo gore di-trust tse batho ba rotloediwang go di forma di kgone gore ba oune dipolasi tsa diphologolo ga go bona kgokong go seka gato a e hulwe a e bolawe ga go bona tlou go bonwa diphologolo di tsewe di isiwe ko difarmong di ye go tlhokomelwa morae o je mo go tsone ka bo boipuso le go agela batlhoki ba rekisa tsone diphologolo tseo ba agela batlhoki ba ba direla dithepe kana dipompo tsa metsi tsa ba ba itlhokang e seng gore gongwe re bo re bolaela go bo re katela so ke mangwe a mananeo a e leng gore a leka go rotloetsa sone seemo seo bakenti ba ikemetseng ba le 17 ba setse ba beilwe mo mangong a mahelo a bolwetse no bo supega bo ka rapesa kobo ka letshoba mo gone mahelo a ke tlokweng ke kgatleng ke gamalete ke mahalape tota ile go leka go atolosa twantsho ya bolwetse jwa foot and mouth mme ka yone tsela e kgosi le mananeo a mangwe hela a tla latelang ke mananeo a gone gore tota famara a itse tota gore ha go twe go tsadisa dikgomo gongwe go ntshegatsa peo ya kgomo o sa dirise o dirisa boranyane ke mangwe a mananeo a puso e leng mo gone kgosi ka tsela e ntseng jalo ke tsaya ke re ke yone kgatelopele ke ka isupang ke a leboga
Kgosi Khumanego.
ke a leboga Modulasetulo ke a leboga tona
Kgosi Tumaeletse.
Ke a leboga Modulasetulo. Question number 12.
Honorable Minister of Justice and Correctional Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ke leboge Kgosi Tumaeletse ka putso ya gagwe, ke leboge borara mo ntlong yene le ba kaolingwe di ministera. Putso ya arabega yana Modulasetulo. The Botswana Prison Service is committed to uplifting the socio-economic status as well as uplifting the mental health of its officers. This is because the service believes that officers can work better when their conditions of work are generally conducive to good welfare, leaving little room or chance for stressful conditions. We accept that the socio-economic status of officers must always be positive. Factors which generally promote good socio-economic status are living and office accommodation, reasonable salary levels, working normal hours, good welfare scheme, and so on. The prison service provides accommodation to its staff and a number of welfare schemes for officers. The schemes include negotiated bank loans with low interest rates and funeral schemes. Prison officers are provided with free accommodation, and where there might be no accommodation, they are paid housing allowance of 15% of their basic salary. However, it is admitted that there is still not enough accommodation for prison officers. As a result of this, there is a substantial number of officers staying in shared accommodation. The salaries of prison officers are not comparatively bad, as they are on similar level with those of similar organizations. However, the Ministry of Justice and Correctional Service remains committed to improving both the work conditions and remunerations. Mr. Chairperson, where there are challenges in work conditions, there are more likely to be stressful situations which might put pressure on the mental health of officers. So to prevent such conditions, there is need for interventions to assist officers to survive the conditions. In this regard, the prison service has put in place mitigating initiatives to support officers. Prison officers are entitled to support by psychological treatment in the form of counseling, by welfare officers, psychologists, and chaplains, and so forth, to address possible challenges in mental health. Roman figure 2 question whether there are any annual training plans for officers and the criteria used. Mr. Chairperson, the Botswana Prison Service places great importance on training and development of its officers. To this end, the service keeps a skills inventory to know what skills it has and the skills it lacks. In addition, the service conducts a skills needs assessment at the beginning of each strategic plan to help develop a 5-year training plan. Training of officers is therefore carried out in terms of the plan, whose implementation is through annual plans. This detailed process constitutes a fair criteria for selection of officers for training. The last question as to whether there are clear special career progression paths different from those stipulated under the DPSM Directives and Public Service Act. Mr. Chairperson, the prison service has a distinct career progression framework established under its own regulatory instruments, key amongst which is the scheme of service. The scheme of service is developed under Section 15 of the Prisons Act. It is developed by the Commissioner and approved by the Minister. The scheme of service generally provides for entry, qualifications, and salary levels for different posts. It also provides for ways of progression after enlistment. One common requisite factor for promotion is that generally an officer must serve for 3 years in a rank or position before he or she may be promoted to the next level. This requirement is supplemented by the requirements of performance and discipline. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Jose Tuma Eleze.
Directive number 10 of 2001, yare any public officer should be in a scale for 2 years. Prisons regulatory mechanism is contrary to that. That's what I was saying. Is there any different mechanism other than the lapse of youth? So the 3 years versus 2 years, which is which? Minister.
Honorable Minister.
Yes, Honale Parloha, Kahora Haobala Public Service Act, Yari, the police, the BDF, the prisons, and other security officers are excluded from the application of the Public Service Act. Therefore, in terms of Section 15 of the Prisons Act, the prison developed its scheme of work in compliance and in accordance with Section 15 of the Prisons Act. The difference is that we are applying the regulatory framework that controls and governs the prisons services, which is Section 15 of the Prisons Act. The one for number 2 of 2001, which says 2 years, it was developed in accordance with the Public Service Act of 2008, which then gave the minister and the PSP the power to develop conditions and services for the public service, which is not regulating the prisons officers, because they are regulated by Section 15 of the Prisons Act. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Proceed to my list. Thank you, Kosi Tumailete. Kosi Kama.
I request to withdraw this question because it was answered by the Minister of State President Maabane Hana Raba Botsoyaha Kosi Kachana, number 36. Thank you.
Thank you, Kosi Kama. We will withdraw the question. Kosi Dingalo.
Thank you, Mr. Stilo. Question 14.
Honorable Minister of Local Government and Traditional Affairs. Khaisa tle Minister wa rona DIKGOSI re tla e tlola. Kgosi dingalo Minister Khaisa e bone. Khaisa bona le ra.
Thank you.
Kgosi ba beile.
Thank you, Blastilo. Question number 15.
Honorable Minister of Justice and Correctional Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Kosiba Beile. Kaputso ye ka hore ka thusa batswana le setjhaba ka kakaretso. Putso, and the answer is as follows, Mr. Chairman. The Bail Act came in operation on 4th March 2024 with the objective of establishing a clear and consistent legal framework governing the grant or refusal of bail. The Act was enacted in response to concerns that some persons accused of serious offenses were being released on bail and allegedly committing further offenses while awaiting trial. To address these concerns, the Act prescribes the factors that judicial officers must consider when determining whether bail should be granted or refused. The Act seeks to strike a balance between the constitutional rights of accused persons, including the right to liberty and the presumption of innocence, and the interest of the public safety and administration of justice. In terms of Section 4 of the Bail Act, subject to Section 5(3)(b) and 10(1) of the Constitution, a person in custody is entitled to be released on bail only where the interests of justice so permit. In making this determination, courts must consider factors such as the seriousness of the offense, risk posed to the victim, the likelihood of the accused absconding from trial, the need to protect witnesses and the public, and the overall interest of justice. With regards to the serious offense such as murder, the Acts provide for heightened scrutiny for bail applications. In particular, Section 15 of the Bail Act affords complainants specific rights in bail applications relating to offenses listed in Schedule 3, including murder. The provision ensures that complainants are afforded an opportunity to be heard and requires the court to consider their safety, interests, and any concerns arising from the potential release of the accused when determining whether the grant of bail will be in the interest of justice. At this stage, the Ministry does not consider it appropriate to impose a blanket prohibition on bail for all persons charged with murder. Such an approach would be inconsistent with the constitutional principles of the presumption of innocence and the right of every accused person to have their individual circumstances fairly considered by an independent and impartial court. The Ministry is of the view that Bail Act provides sufficient legal framework for determination of bail applications, including those involving serious offenses such as murder. Priority will therefore be given to promoting the consistent and effective application of the Act through ongoing training and capacity building initiatives for judicial officers. Further, Mr. Chairman, the Ministry will continue to monitor the implementation and effectiveness of the Act and will consider any future reforms if informed by evidence, judicial experience, and public safety considerations. Accordingly, an immediate review of the Act for the purpose of introducing an automatic denial of bail for all persons charged with murder is not considered necessary at this stage. And Mr. Chairperson, in 1998, the Parliament of Botswana amended the penal code to introduce a denial in bail for rape suspects. And the Court of Appeal decided in the case of Attorney General reference in the State versus Marapo 2002, Volume 2, BRR 26, and it says that denial was unconstitutional as it conflicts with Section 53B of the Constitution and Section 10 of the Constitution, which says every person is presumed innocent until proven guilty, and Section 53B of the Constitution, which says a person may be deprived his or her liberty by denied bail if and only if that person is to be incarcerated for a reasonable period, and the court should be the one to determine that situation. And this, the public interest was raised, and they have dealt with all those questions of public interest. Ka jalo seemo se ke se ileng gore ba setse ba interpret Section 3 e re motho o ka dinaiwa bail ka mabaka a latelang go na le di-conditions, o ka fiwa bail unconditional or on conditions. So Section 5.3 of the Constitution ke yone e re o ka fiwa bail conditional or unconditional. So ka jalo any act of parliament e leng gore yaano e dira prohibition on bail will be conflicting with Section 10 and 5 of the Constitution. Ka jalo ke so re tokahaditse Bail Act gore yaano re tsenye gore ha ile gore go na le possibility ya gore o ka sia absconding from standing trial o ka kgoreletsa basupi wa threat mo bone the victims ka jalo o ka dinaiwa bail ha ile gore go na le bosupi jo bo papamatseng gore you are a threat to the victims, you can abscond from trial kana ka interfere le basupi. Ka jalo ke one mabaka ile gore those conditions di mo molao motheong gore go santse gore go prove the conditions tsa go nna lo Mr. Chairman. Ka jalo gore any attempt to have a blanket prohibition will be unconstitutional. It has already been decided by the Court of Appeal. I thank you.
Kgosi Babeile.
Ke a leboga tona, ke a leboga Mdulastilo.
Thank you, Kgosi Babeile. It's time for tea break, honorable ministers. Kopa go tsaya short break, re tla boa ka 11 o'clock. pray be seated. A re tsweleleng ha ne re eme teng Marara Kgosi Paledi.
Ke a dumedisa modulasetilo, ke dumedisa matona. Question 16.
Honorable Minister of Health.
Ke a leboga modulasetilo, ke a leboga Kgosi ke ikobile. Potso ke a lesome le borataro. Mr. Chairman, I'm aware that the X-ray machine, the dental surgery unit, mortuary and cold room are not functional at Hukunzi Primary Hospital. The X-ray machine is old and has reached its end of life. In other words, it's obsolete. The cost of repairing this machine is far more than its economic value, and as such, it needs to be replaced. The ministry is working to repurpose funds so that the X-ray is replaced as a matter of priority. Mr. Chairman, the Department of Biomedical Engineering is responsible for daily maintenance of medical equipment at hospital level. The Ministry of Health does not have sufficient biomedical technicians to cover the whole country, unfortunately. The hospitals which do not have technicians are covered through support visits by biomedical engineers from districts or referral hospitals on a quarterly basis. Mr. Chairman, regarding the dental chair, even though it is now not working currently, it can still be repaired. The dental unit has no water supply, which compounds the problem. It needs to be rectified before the machine can be put to proper use. We anticipate that this situation will be resolved by August this year. Hukunzi Primary Hospital does not have a biomedical engineer or a technician following the passing on of the technical assistant who was stationed there last year. The officer will be replaced by another engineer by the end of this year. The ministry has also procured the spare parts required to repair both the cold rooms and the mortuary. Technicians will travel to Hukunzi to do the repairs, and the works are expected to commence in July. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Kgosi Paledi.
Ke a leboga modulasetilo, me hela ne ka botsa hela gone gore lephata le dira eng gore tšhaba yone mme itse ka gone go tlhoka go nna sentle ga dimešhini tse mo sepateleng se sa Hukunzi ka gore go mo go tsala di tlhoka neelano sentle modulasetilo.
Supplement.
Ga motsi wa potso a setse a boditsa ka kwa botsa. Honorable Minister.
Ke a leboga modulasetilo. Gone ke amogela Kgosi gore ga re dire go lekane go amogana dikgang tse le setšhaba. Ke kgang re lemogile mme re dira maiteko kana re simolotse maiteko a gone go tlhomamisa gore e se ka dikgang hela tsa sepetse se sa berekeng melemo le botsogo hela jalo ja setšhaba ka kakaretso re bona go tlhokagala gore ka nako tsotlhe re kgone re bue le setšhaba re ba lekodise gore re tsamaya kae re kopana le dikgwetlho dihe re kgona go iphitlhelela diphenyo tsa go nna ke a leboga Kgosi.
Order, Mr. Modulasetilo. Ke a leboga modulasetilo ne ke re ke gakolole ka decorum dress code ya monto ke bona matona ka bontsi ba apere di-jersey gongwe ba gakolola gore ga re apare di-jersey mo ntong e re ka moso o ba itshwarela ka gore ba sa itse ke a leboga modulasetilo.
Ba go utlwile Kgosi Tshipe ka re ga ke etse gompieno. Kgosi Paledi.
Ke a leboga modulasetilo, ke a leboga tona.
Kgosi Kachana.
Ke a leboga modulasetilo. Question number 17.
Honorable Minister of Transport and Infrastructure.
Ke a leboga Chairman, ke a leboga Kgosi le tari tshwarela for di jazz me re ta baka Rutuli. Mr. Chairman, following the release of the Presidential Directive Cap 9B of 2013 on a Thursday, 25th April 2013, which decentralized the procurement, replacement, and repair of government vehicles to ministries. Respective ministries are now responsible for repairing and maintenance of their own vehicles. The Ministry of Transport, apologies. The ministry can now consult the Ministry of Transport for technical expertise they require on vehicles to be repaired regarding scope of works to be undertaken. Following this advice, ministries can now use Government Fleet Management, GFM, to subcontract their vehicles to accredited private garages or directly do the subcontracting. Ministries can also procure parts for their vehicles to be repaired by the GFM workshops. Part one of your question. Mr. Chairman, it is difficult for the ministry to account for the status of the government fleet at the moment without a government fleet management system in place. However, there are approximately 1,124 vehicles currently grounded and under the custody of GFM stations, government fleet management stations, as of the 5th of June 2026. With a total of 300 units belonging to our ministry, the Ministry of Transport, and 824 belonging to various line ministries. Evidently, more vehicles are grounded at the facilities of line ministries, which have not been brought to government fleet management for assistance to undertake their repairs. As stated above, there are 1,124 vehicles and heavy plant machines currently off-road under the custody of GFM nationwide due to maintenance backlogs attributed to insufficient funds to cater for their repairs and maintenance. The ministry is, part 3, the ministry is currently compiling a priority list of ministerial vehicles and heavy plant equipment to be repaired, taking into account the limited resources available. In addition, the ministry through Government Fleet Management is developing a priority list of vehicles and heavy plant equipment for other ministries to consider for repair and maintenance in order to ensure the continued provision for essential services. The last part of your question. Outsourcing of maintenance of government fleet to accredited private garages has been in place since the late 1990s, and the outsourcing is currently done on a competitive manner, and citizen-owned garages are also considered, especially in instances where there are minor differences in the evaluated cost. Mr. Chairman, the ministry is currently working on a tender to develop or procure a fleet management system which shall be rolled out to all line ministries. Once the system is in place, it will be possible to have a comprehensive status of the whole government fleet. I thank you, Mr. Chair.
Supplementary.
Khosi Khama.
Is the tribal administration considered an essential service? And where does it fall within the priorities within the government fleet? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
I believe it is. Like I said, all the ministries and our ministry are developing priority lists of all the vehicles that are grounded that need to be repaired. So it's dependent on the input of these line ministries to prioritize whichever vehicle, whichever yellow plant that needs to be on the ground. But every vehicle is equally important because when it's grounded, there's no service delivery. Thank you.
Khosi Kachana.
Ke a leboga modulasetilo. Tona, Go na le matshwenyego a le gore Batswana gongwe ba ete ba botse gone gore kante jaaka dikoloi tsa gore metete wa di-groundilwe yana ga di sena go groundiwa go iragala yang ka tsone a di togela go ebe go sena ba le goreng ba di tlhokometse mabaka a meaga mo goreng go na le tshenyo le goreng ya iragala I think about a month ago go na ga nna le video ne trend mo social media go supa le gore those vehicles go di leng teng batho ba di gopela so yaanong ke gore ke botsa gore a mme go na le sengwe se le gore it's in place gore a vehicle e submitwa gore ya groundiwa a go na ga le kwalang teng go supa gore nya e groundile e na le eng di-parts di le dihe kana ebe wa hele be go togela ithole gore anong ke gone ko batho ba tsang di-parts teng ga ba batla go reka kana go rekisa yaanong ke botsa gone gore a mme go na le sengwe arrangement e dirwang to collect information gore vehicle le isiwa ene ntse ya ke a leboga modulasetilo.
Honorable Minister.
Ke a leboga Mr. Chairman, ke a leboga Kgosi. Nya nnete ke o e buile re itemogetse gore dikoloi tsa puso di a sengwa ga di tsena maybe tshwanetse re replace startera e hella e tsaelwa di injectara e tshwanetse re replace maybe di disk e hella e tsaelwa se sele mme mangwe a mabaka gore be go ntse yalo ke gone gore ke le tlhoko la madi sa bobedi le gone go di bewang teng security sa teng ga se se leng gore ra se eletsa nka be le gore re ka tsenya yaanong tsone bo di CCTV re tsenya di proper boundaries in place tse leng gore di ka hema gore batho ba ska ba senya mme jaaka ke sa tswa go bua gore re mo processing ya go tsa yone ya go reka kana go tisa yone boranyana ba government fleet management bo e leng gore re tshologelo ke gore mbota re neela gore re tshwanetse re ireng go tsweng ko the actual site to the management of the parts tsone tsa koloi le go recorda koloi yo gore e le mo selebong go se sentseng ya mme re tna le tsholela gore e tare system re sona re reka be re tsenya mo tirisong e tana e hema tsone di kgantsone tsa gonna mme hela totala gone hela ke gore re ipitera re le mo seemong se ka gore go ntse go sa irwe proper maintenance plan e leng gore ha ne le teng ne nka be le gore tsone go di site tsone tse go setse go na le security la se nonneng ebile le dikoloi di sa kgone go gopelwa ka tsela ntse ala mme ke process re dumela gore re ta goroga go once the system is in place it will definitely pick out tsone di kgantsone tse leng gore ha re bua ka government leakage di a go senoga ke a leboga
Kgosi Kachana.
Ke a leboga tona ke a leboga modulasetilo.
Kgosi Tumaeletse.
Question number 18 modulasetilo.
Honorable Minister of Justice and Correctional Services.
Ke a leboga Mr. Chairman. Meputso ya karatse maphata a mabedi kana di ministry tse pedi wa ke ta arabela ya prisons ka gore ya karatsa ba police le ba BDF wa ke ta araba hele tse di amanang le prisons ke bona putso ha le tsenya tse maphata a mangwe a ke sena go ikarabelo mo gone ke a leboga Mr. Chairman. The Botswana Prison Service, like other government department, is required to implement public service reforms. It has been implementing the reforms and continues to do so. The reforms include signing of performance development plans, performance agreement reviews, individual performance reviews, and organizational performance. The reforms have been in practice for years now, Mr. Chairman. However, the service has not been giving excellent performance awards primarily because it has never had a budget for the awards. Whether the ministry has ever denied increments and performance awards for non-performance during the past 5 years, Mr. Chairman, there are no officers who were denied increments or performance awards in the past 5 years. This is because there were no officers who scored below average and undeserving of annual increment. 3, whether the minister is aware of the persistent stagnation of officers, particularly those in the lower ranks as opposed to senior officers. Mr. Chairman, we are aware that there are many officers who have spent long periods without promotion. It is true that such situation is common for lower level ranks. There has generally been stagnation in ranks despite good performance. This situation is largely attributable to the fact that the Botswana Prison Service has not been given new posts over the past successive financial years. The few promotions which were made in the past 2 years were a result of posts arising from vacancies caused by attrition in the form of resignation, retirement, deaths, and so on. Mr. Chairperson, it is common knowledge that the current economic situation has contributed to the absence of growth of the public service establishments. The prison service has been affected equally. However, we remain hopeful that the situation will be addressed when the economy improves. The last question, whether we intend to do what we intend to do to address the above problems. Mr. Chairman, the ministry remains committed to improving career progression and improving welfare programs for officers. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Mr. Chairperson, I apologize in advance. Ka moso go la boraro ta go cabinet. Ra harna le potso le re kopile go le tsene ka la bone.
I have quick 4 questions to follow up, Mr. The first one being, how many members of the prisons cohort since 1992 up to date, which is now 34 years, but they are still there, supposed to promote you? 2, how many have ascended beyond such position? Can you show us why this cohort are still sub-inspectors? The last one, do you have an impartial promotion board? If your answer is yes, who monitors its impartiality? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chairman, kita kupa ka gore ke le gore potso e imputsa information e lora ke nana yo ya gore for 34 years ba ka ba promotilweng nka se ke ne information ya teng ita e bata gore ye ko le patalone le gore nela dikarabo ka gore 34 years ke le ba ka le lele le yone ya 2 years a ke tso re promotile ba le kae so gwata kae ke putso e ntsha ngwe ta bata gore ngwe te sente gore re khone go tsa information e maleba e correct ke se ga tloga ke inela ya mesi yo mo dipampiring tsa puso kwa e bele gore ke fa ya meheletswa mo pilong ya ke a leboga modulasetulo
e nyame go utlwala minister lena I realized gore Kgosi Tumaile tsona ba tla bo dipalo so go ra gore ngwe a se dipalo tso ka tswa mo ditshotse as we speak a o ka tswana le another question from supplementary Kgosi Tumaile tse
nya modulasetulo ke a leboga modulasetulo ke a leboga tona.
Thank you very much, Kgosi Tumaile.
Excuse to be excused ki headies. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Kgosi Khama.
Number 19, Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Minister of Environment and Tourism.
Thank you very much, Kgosi. Thank you very much, Kgosi Khama. I can confirm, Mr. Chairman, that government is aware of a statement that circulated on social media platforms issued by the Environmental Investigation Agency on the 18th March 2026, which reported that Zambian authorities had seized approximately 550 kilograms of ivory and arrested 9 suspects allegedly linked to an international wildlife trafficking syndicate operating within the Southern African region. Mr. Chairman, the Environmental Investigation Agency report further alleges that organized criminal networks exploit weak governance structures, benefit from corruption, and may have orchestrated poaching expeditions into Botswana to source ivory, which is subsequently trafficked through neighboring countries. The ministry recognizes that wildlife crime has evolved into a sophisticated form of transnational organized crime, often involving well-coordinated networks operating across multiple jurisdictions, Botswana inclusive. Government welcomes the successful disruption of wildlife criminal networks working across the region and commends all the players that participated in the arrest. Mr. Chairman, although ivory was seized outside Botswana, government takes allegations of weak enforcement, corruption, and lack of political will seriously. Regarding allegations of weak enforcement, Botswana has consistently demonstrated its commitment to wildlife conservation through sustained investments in anti-poaching operations, capacity building, and interagency cooperation. While challenges persist as they do globally, government continuously reviews and strengthens its operational capabilities to respond effectively to emerging threats. With respect to allegations of corruption, government maintains an uncompromising stance against corruption in all sectors. Any credible allegations involving public officials are investigated by the appropriate authorities, and where evidence of wrongdoing exists, administrative, disciplinary, and criminal action is pursued in accordance with the laws of Botswana. Mr. Chairman, in response to the allegations of poaching expedition in Botswana, government acknowledges that Botswana's extensive wildlife areas and international borders present operational challenges that are exploited by transnational organized criminal networks. Nevertheless, these challenges reinforce the need for sustained vigilance, strengthened domestic and regional cooperation. In conclusion, Mr. Chairman, while the Environmental Investigation Agency's report highlights the scale of the illegal ivory trade in our region, Botswana remains steadfast in its commitment to combating poaching. We recognize that these crimes are transboundary, often orchestrated by transnational criminal syndicates. Through coordinated interagency operations, regional collaboration, and strengthened anti-cooperation measures, the Ministry and government are intensifying efforts to protect our wildlife. We call upon our neighbors and international partners to join us in this fight. For the protection of elephants and all species is not only a national duty, but a regional and global responsibility. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Khosi Khama.
Thank you, Minister.
Khosi Monyapele.
Question number 20.
Khosi Monyapele, Minister wa Local Government sa le go to yetla me re mosolohetse. I'm sure o tla goroga. Khosi Monyapele, ne ba nkwaletse mokwalo nna ne ke sa o bona sentle ne ke ithakare ga to etla kante gate ga ana go tla go ra gore we will defer the question. Ara dumalana Khosi Monyapele gore e diferwe. Thank you, Khosi Monyapele. Le ga o no sa ema ka dinao. Ema o tobetse gore tle go recorege.
Nyame ke a leboga Modulasetilo.
Thank you very much, Khosi Monyapele. Khosi Molehele.
Ya leboga Modulasetilo, question number 21.
Honorable Minister of Child Welfare and Basic Education.
Dumelang Khosi. Ka ne sentse re thusa minister go bona Setilo ka ke ne se utlwa gore ke potse.
Ira go ka you may go ahead ka go araba. Onoibon, question 21, 318. 318.
Ke a leboga modulasetulo. Mr. Chairman, the ministry had planned to construct a new 30-stream secondary school during the transitional National Development Plan of 2024-2025. The facility was to have 30 base classrooms, special education block, administration block, staff houses, science block, home economics block, art block, computer block, agriculture block, business studies block, and a multi-purpose block with kitchen and dining hall. It should be noted, Mr. Chairman, that due to competing priorities, this was not achieved. However, I can confirm that there is cyclic maintenance which started in 2025 at Itikeng Community Junior Secondary School and due to be completed before the end of 2026. We have resubmitted a request to construct a new school, and funds permitting, we hope this will be achieved. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Khosi Molehele.
Ke a leboga modulasetulo, ke a leboga.
Khosi Kachana.
Ke a leboga modulasetulo, question 22.
Honorable Minister of Transport and Infrastructure.
Ke a leboga, Mr. Chairman, ke a leboga Khosi. Mr. Chairman, the ministry has identified a proponent who is currently preparing a feasibility study to identify the bankability of A1 as a public-private partnership project, Kana PPP. The feasibility study, which is expected to be completed before end of this year, will give an indication of the capital investment required, operational costs, and will also address various issues, including its viability if the scheme was to be unbundled into sections as requested in the question. The ministry therefore cannot grant district councils the legal authority to build and manage toll gates on segments of the A1 in the absence of a detailed feasibility study to guide that decision. Part 2. Mr. Chairman, the Public Roads Act already recognizes local authorities as road authorities. Let me repeat that. Mr. Chairman, the Public Road Act already recognizes local authorities as roads authorities can be given delegated powers by the Minister of Transport and Infrastructure to manage or maintain any section of a national road for the public convenience. Therefore, there are no need for amendment of the Public Roads Act for the purposes of delegation of powers. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Khosi Kachana.
Ke a leboga tona, ke a leboga modulasetulo.
Khosi Rantuana.
Ke a leboga modulasetulo, potso ke ya bo 23.
Ba local government ba supile ga ba sena go tla Khosi Rantuana ke kopa gore re difere potso.
Ke a leboga modulasetulo.
Thank you, Khosi Rantuana. Khosi Tumaeletse.
Question number 24, modulasetulo.
Honorable Minister of Lands and Agriculture.
Ke a leboga Khosi, ke a leboga modulasetulo wa ntlo ya DIKGOSI. Potso e ke potso e tlhamaletse ya ga Khosi. Me Khosi kana ona batla go gore lephata la rona maikaelelo a lone a gare bone nako e tsile ya gore go dirisiwe motlhale ye mengwe ya gore go phatlalatswe madirelo kana di-office tse e leng gore go ka nna bonako gore batho ba tseye diteseletso tsa lehatshe mo go tweng ke secured land title. Mme ka go rialo kgosi maikaelelo a kgosi a buang ke one a ka atlega, mme hela ga se one hela a le nosi a ka diragalang. Mme re tshwanetse gore re itsise kgosi gore ke boammaaruri mahelo a e leng gore a ha tsone ditirelo tseo ga a mantsi mo lehatsheng la Botswana ka palo a mabedi hela. Mme ke tshwanetse ka supa gore go abiwa ga ditankana gore di ka tswa ka bonako kana ga lehatshe ditirelo tsa teng gore go ka nna bonako ga go a beisa hela mo goreng gongwe e boreka dira jaaka gongwe kgosi a buile. Goromente o ikaelela gore a tswale diphatla tse dingwe tsa gore go bo go nna molamoleele go bona sone setankana sa mohuta o ntseng jalo. Go di tswala ka go nna le ditirelo tsa maranyane tse e le gore di ka beisa ko dikgaolong, mme ebile gape go na le ditsompelo tsone tseo tsa ditirelo tsa maranyane le batho ba ba rutetsweng go bona gore tiro eo ya diragala. Gone mo hela mo go ka dira gore re ka letsatsi o batla setankana kana yone title deed o e bone ka nako ga gona le ditsompelo tse di lekanyeng mo mahelong a amegang. Mme ebile go tlhokagala gape gore go bo gona le gore le bone batho ba bago ba rutilwe thata ba itse tiro ya bone e ba e dirang go bona gore tiragalo tse tsa go ntsha lehatshe kana go ntsha teseletso ya lehatshe e dirwa ka bonako. Mme se ka diragala hela ha maikaelelo le maikemisetso a puso a gore go phatlaladiwe boranyane coverage ya teng ka lephata la ga retsere lehatshe ka bophara gore sepe se puso ikaela go se dira le se sa amanang le maranyane se kgonagala. E seng jalo re tla nna re ntse re buagela jaana kgosi, mme le gore tota ga go wele. Ntlha e kgosi e dirwa jaana e le gore gone jaaka o bua go botlhokwa gore go atumelediwe ditirelo ko setšhabeng go bona gore setšhaba se bona ditirelo tse di siameng. Mme ha ke wela kgosi le tsone di-office tse di ka tlang tsa bodi le ko mahelong ao go botlhokwa gore e boeletsa maemo a segompieno tse di ka itepatepanyang le seemo sa gompieno le go dirisiwa ke bone batho. Ko bohelelong ke ne ke re go na le gore re le Batswana re akanye re nna le maakanya gore a mme gone ka ha re ntse re tshwere ka teng dikgang tsa lehatshe a re sampe re di tshwere sentle, a ke tsone tsa go aba, a ke tsone tsa di-land board ke tsa eng. Go nne le maakanya gore nne re ntse re ithokotsa gore a se gore yaano re te re akanye gore go ka baakangwa ka tsela e ntseng jang gore mo nako e tlang bana ba ba tlang ko morago ba tla ba kgone gore ba heogelwe ke dilo. Ke a leboga kgosi.
Kgosi tumaletse.
Ke a leboga tona, ke a leboga Modulasetulo.
Kgosi Khama.
Number 25, Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Minister of Transport and Infrastructure.
Ke a leboga Mr. Chairman, ke a leboga Kgosi. Mr. Chairman, I wish to share with this honorable house that there is a standing administrative practice where a meeting between public transport operators and the ministry is convened every 2 years to deliberate on and consider review of fares. The ministry engages public transport operators through their various formations. For example, the Taxi and Bus Operators Association to deliberate on an equitable fare adjustment. Mr. Chairman, proposal for an upward passenger fare adjustment is normally influenced by key factors such as fuel price volatility, spares and parts cost escalations, general maintenance cost, inflation, and driver labor expenses. Mr. Chairman, I however wish to inform this House that the current legislative framework governing public transport is silent on the process to follow with respect to the review of public transport fares. However, the Road Transport Permit Act, the RTPA, only provides general guidance. Mr. Chairman, Section 17, Part 3 of the Road Transport Permit Act empowers the transport controller to attach to the passenger permit conditions securing that the fares shall not be unreasonable. Where desirable in public interest, the fares shall also be fixed as to prevent wasteful competition with alternative forms of transport, if any, along the routes specified in the permit or any part thereof, or in its proximity thereof. Mr. Chairman, I must highlight to this Honorable House that before the implementation of any proposed new public transport fares, they have to be subjected to prior approval by Cabinet. Once approved, the new fares are published in the Government Gazette for public consumption. Thereafter, it will be the responsibility of the transport controller to ensure that transport operators charge the approved fares as per the relevant permit granted to the public service vehicle. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question 26.
Honorable Minister of Child Welfare and Basic Education.
Mr. Chairman, the Ministry has considered child online safety, and all student laptops are deployed and managed through Microsoft Intune, which enables the Ministry to apply security policies and restrict access to adult websites and other explicit online content. The outstanding issues are associated with use of removable storage devices that facilitate transfer of such content. Mr. Chairman, the Smart Boards Wi-Fi has proven to be open, and the Ministry has since developed standards to address this unguarded access. The provider has also been engaged on the issue of unfiltered access. The Ministry fully recognizes the importance of protecting learners from inappropriate online content and has since strengthened the training and sensitization on child online safety. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. This question to a later date. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kosipuso. Kosituma Elete.
Question number 28.
Honorable Minister of Child Welfare and Basic Education.
Mr. Chairman, yes, the Ministry is aware of the challenges faced by all employees and remains committed to supporting their well-being and strengthening the existing workplace wellness programs. Mr. Chairman, currently the Ministry has not identified any disparities in the implementation of the applicable directives. Promotion is undertaken in accordance with Directive number 10 of 2001, which allows for performance-based progression every 2 years. Directive number 6 of 2008, which outlines the objectives of multi-titling of C-band positions, and Section 14 of the Public Service Act number 30 of 2008, which emphasizes merit-based progression. Mr. Chairman, the Ministry utilizes the Public Service Performance Management System, which provides for the development of annual performance plans, performance agreements, and quarterly performance reviews. Furthermore, the Ministry uses recognition and reward mechanisms to acknowledge and incentivize outstanding performance, such as excellence awards. Mr. Chairman, the Ministry has various independent appointments and promotions boards constituted in accordance with the Public Service Act and relevant regulations and directives. These boards operate within the prescribed mandate and are responsible for considering recommendations submitted through established structures. The boards are constituted as follows: Board 1 chaired by the Permanent Secretary, Board 2 chaired by the Deputy Permanent Secretary, and Board 3 chaired by directors, and Board 4 chaired by the Manager, Human Resource and Administration. Mr. Chairman, part 5 of the question. During the past 5 years, the Ministry has not had any officer who was denied notch increment or performance award on account of non-performance. There were no reported cases of officers attaining level 1 performance rating or a score of 49% and below, which would render an officer ineligible for a notch increment. This is in line with Performance Management Development, PMD, and Performance-Based Reward Systems, PBRS tools. 6. Mr. Chairman, the Ministry is aware of the challenges in progression of officers across levels. However, promotion to higher scales depends on a number of factors, including the availability of vacancies, compliance with the relevant scheme of service, satisfactory performance, and fair competition among eligible officers. The Ministry continues to engage relevant stakeholders on human resource management matters and review of staffing requirements with a view to improving career progression opportunities where feasible. And lastly, part 8, Mr. Chairman, the Ministry has accordingly implemented the court judgment in question for all affected officers, as well as circular saving gram reference DP 19/72/9 in brackets 22, dated 13 May 2023, regarding the implementation of the court order on C-band multiple grading and titling. It was, however, established that the DPSM directives on multiple titling did not apply to teachers, as they were then governed by the Teaching Service Management Act. Multiple titling for teachers was only introduced through the implementation of levels of operation LU in 2013, and all eligible teachers have been paid in terms thereof. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Two questions, Mulastilo. The first one being, do we have any special criteria for promotion other than the reforms? First question. The second and last question. The target, Minister, primary school, I'm really informed is 70%. Course junior and secondary is 40%. Can you account for this discrepancy? Primary 70%, junior secondary 40%. Can you confirm or deny?
Honorable Minister.
Ke a leboga, modulasetulo, ke a leboga Kgosi for the follow-up questions. Any special criteria other than the reforms? Total, most of them, they are under reforms in terms of promotion. Gona le nngwe Kgosi ya le gore ntse le teng gale, but I think ya dirisiwa le one whereby depend gore motho performile yang go ela go lebellwa gore no, this person is a super teacher, and as such o kgona mo go teng frog leaping or accelerated progression or accelerated promotion. So such a teacher, when he or she is identified by the supervisors, o kgona re commendiwa gore nya means that gore a hiwe bo senior teacher grade 2 o kgona iswa go senior teacher grade 1. So as part of promoting and motivating the teachers. Yeah, primary schools promotion confirm me. I think it's likely to be true because primary schools with a percentage rate most primary schools the target is that pass with 60%, and most primary schools they can afford to do that. And we have several schools, these are more 100%. They reach 100%. But when we look at junior secondary schools, most of them are struggling. I think it's the assessment system that is used. With our school, number one, 56%, over 60%. Most of the schools that are performing well, we talk about 60%. 80. So I think the criteria in the primary the pass rate at most of the time with even in fact they can reach 100, and most of them they achieve that percentage rate. Challenge wait the vacancy they are not available, but they look at such. But I will confirm the figures, but I know what it's close to that.
Kgosi Tumaheletse.
29, Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Kgosi. But for this question, may I, we have requested that our colleagues from local government and traditional affairs respond to the question because of the transition to local government. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Kgosi Khama, can we defer it, but it's ended this week, not to the next sitting?
Chairman, I understand. In fact, I recall that this was directed to local government and not to health. So I was surprised to see what has come here under Ministry of Health, because it's already clinic and everything associated with primary health care is under local government. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Lena, I don't know what could have happened here. I'm sorry, it will be. Kgosi Kachana.
Question 30, Modulastilo.
Honorable Minister of State, President, Defense and Security.
Modulastilo, the Standing Order 105 mandates the Public Accounts Committee to, among other things, examine after the end of each financial year the accounts and statements prepared and signed by the Accountant General in accordance with the provisions of the Public Finance Management Act of 2013. The committee has sat from the 15th June 2026 and so far examined 11 ministries, departments and agencies, and the examination has often exposed leakages. With regard to the outcome of the examinations, they will be revealed at the end of the examination with possible remedial measures suggested by the committee. The Public Accounts Committee tabled the report of its 61st sitting of 2025 to Parliament on 16th April 2026, and it was duly adopted on the 17th April 2026. The report made 30 resolutions containing 199 action items for all ministries, departments, and agencies examined. The committee resolutions entailed 7 general or cross-cutting observations in the following areas: qualified and clean opinion, and qualified and clean in brackets, opinion of the Auditor General on the government accounts, salary overpayments amounting to 19 million pula, uncollected debts amounting to 228 million pula, lack of actions against senior officers for losses on overpayment of contractors, unresolved staff welfare cases, uncollected debts, and the inactivity of the Parliamentary Committee on Intelligence and Security. The general observations were brought to the attention of the Permanent Secretary to the President, who has started working on them. The Public Accounts Committee is currently holding its 62nd sitting, starting from the 15th June 2026 to 3rd August 2026 to determine the progress on resolving the problems identified. After each sitting, a report will be issued to show the actual rate of implementation. The report is expected before 31st December 2026. Standing Order 105 does not empower the committee to take administrative or legal action against accounting officers. The PAC examines accounting officers and form a conclusion or recommendation which is referred to Parliament for adoption. In the event an accounting officer fails to account for public funds, Parliament may refer that accounting officer to the relevant institution. Furthermore, in the 2025-26 sitting of the committee, it called the Permanent Secretary to the President to refer some of their findings and requested for follow-up to the matters that have been designated as candidates for further action. All government employees are liable to surcharge for any neglect or loss of public funds or property as per Section 43 of the PFM Act, which states that Permanent Secretary shall delegate to an accounting officer the power to surcharge a public officer in the organization of the accounting officer, and Section 44(1), which states that notwithstanding anything to the contrary contained in this Act, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance, may at any time, where it appears to him or her to be necessary to make good the loss the public revenue has suffered on account of actions or omissions as specified in Section 43, surcharge any person liable to be surcharged under the said section. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Supplementary. Quick 2 supplementary questions. This morning, Nigeria Mula Stilo a PAC, Ratalo Lucas, Katuhalo Godimotad. This is the 8th PAC. There is ongoing as we speak. My question, how many accounting officers were dismissed for non-compliance with Accountant General's recommendations, Auditor General and the PAC itself, and how many were charged for misuse or maladministration? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
I was just responding to the hands in the Kachana di Boileha. In a Garabatio, Yano gets our Hawana Puto Sedipsa. Sedipsa Nike or who did this way. Dicata got to La Yellow Lame, Yahori take Honor Gijara Sente. Our lower Nohor and Nabua in what context le gore a nna a bua go na le boammaaruri kana jang ga se mo nka akgela mo go tsone ke a leboga
Kgosi Kachana.
Ke a leboga tona, ke a leboga modulasetilo.
Kgosi Tumaeletse.
Question number 31, Mulastilo.
Honorable Minister of Child Welfare and Basic Education.
Ke a leboga Modulasetilo, ke a leboga Kgosi ka potso eo. Mr. Chairman, the ministry is aware of the differences in salary scales applicable to teachers serving at primary, junior secondary, and senior secondary schools. However, grading of positions is determined by level of responsibility and accountability attached to these positions. Accordingly, senior teachers at primary schools remunerated at the C1 salary scale in line with the approved grading structure. Mr. Chairman, for clarity, heads of department positions in junior and senior secondary schools are graded at D3 salary scale, while deputy school head positions in the same schools are graded at D2 salary scale. Senior teacher positions in primary schools are graded at C1 salary scale and not at D4 salary scale, as the question alludes. The D4 salary scale is the position of head of department in primary schools. Mr. Chairman, the ministry is aware that guidance and counseling teachers at junior and senior secondary schools operate under arrangements that differ from those applicable at primary school level. These differences are informed by operational requirements. For instance, at primary school level, there is no specialization in subject delivery, as the teachers teach all the subjects there. Unlike in secondary schools, where the setup is completely different. In secondary schools, they specialize. But I would like to add, Mr. Chairman, that this is also still being looked at by the employer, DPSM, as well as the trade unions, because it's an issue that is quite active, where the primary school teachers are also calling that they should not be teaching like those teachers in secondary schools. The last part, Mr. Chairman, as the ministry transitions and transforms, the human resource component is part of the holistic ministry's transformational process at addressing all associated impacts of the change process. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Kgosi Tumaeletse.
Ke a leboga tona, ke a leboga Modulasetilo.
Honorable members, ke bona ha go lo tshaba go heta ha pele ha lo iphaphatha hetang hela ha pele ha nna ke bona go sena laele molatope. Before you go, sir, if you have any questions, come so di tla tsena ka 2:30 a ke re phakela go cabinet. Phakela go cabinet. Go ra re tla simola ka 2:30 ka moso. If you have any questions for tomorrow. Kgosi Khama.
Question 32, deferred due to absence.
I will defer it to Minister. Thank you, Kgosi Khama. Kgosi Monyapele.
Question 33.
Honorable Minister of Environment and Tourism.
Thank you very much. Kgosi, Mr. Chairman, the Ministry of Environment and Tourism recognizes cultural heritage as an important national asset that contributes not only to the preservation of our identity and history, but also to socio-economic development, tourism growth, and community empowerment. To leverage cultural heritage for the benefit of local communities, the Ministry, through the Department of National Museum and Monuments, has undertaken several initiatives in partnership with DIKGOSI, local authorities, and community members. Firstly, the Ministry has identified and protected heritage sites across the country under the National Monuments Program. Through the ongoing 100 Monuments Program, heritage sites are being documented, developed, and promoted as tourism and educational destinations. Many of these sites have been assigned local custodians who work closely with traditional leadership structures in safeguarding and promoting these heritage resources. Secondly, the Ministry continues to support community-led cultural events and commemorations hosted at heritage sites. Notable examples include the annual Ditubaruba commemorations at Ntwenyin Molepolole and the Domboshaba Cultural Festival in the Northeast District. These events utilize nationally protected heritage sites under agreed management arrangements and attract visitors from across Botswana and beyond. Such activities stimulate local economic activity through opportunities for vendors, performers, guides, accommodation providers, and other small businesses. Additionally, the Ministry promotes community participation in heritage tourism through the development of guided tours, heritage trails, cultural interpretation programs, educational activities, and exhibitions. These initiatives create opportunities for local people to serve as guides, storytellers, artisans, and service providers while preserving and transmitting indigenous knowledge. Lastly, Mr. Chairman, the Ministry is exploring mechanisms for strengthening involvement of traditional leaders in heritage management. One such approach is the appointment of a strategically placed DIKGOSI and community leaders as honorary officers of monuments, in accordance with the relevant provisions of the law. Such appointments would strengthen local stewardship, improve monitoring and protection of heritage resources, and facilitate closer collaboration between government and communities. The Ministry is also working with local authorities, community-based organizations, and development partners to identify opportunities for heritage-based enterprises, including cultural festivals, traditional craft production, heritage interpretation services, community museums, and other tourism-related activities that can generate sustainable income for local communities. Mr. Chairman, the Ministry remains committed to ensuring that Botswana's cultural heritage becomes an active contributor to rural development, employment creation, and community well-being, while safeguarding these resources for future generations. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Khosi Monyapele.
Thank you, Modlastilo. Thank you, Don.
Khosi Babeili.
Question number 34.
Honorable Minister of Lands and Agriculture.
Kya leboga Modulasetilo wa ntlo ya DIKGOSI ke ne ke re ke kope boitshwarelo ga gona le tshalelo morago ya potso e rile ha ba ha dikarabo bo ba supa gore ya go tsena ka labone ka go rialo karabo ya yone gone ga ke a e tshwara.
Khosi Babeile re kopa go difera potso to labone a wa dumalana.
Ke a amogela Modulasetilo.
Khosi Tumaeletse.
As you alluded, Modulasetilo, I will defer for.
Thank you, Khosi Tumaeletse. Re tla difera potso to a later date. Khosi Khama.
Question 36, Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Minister of Environment and Tourism.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much, Kosi Kama. Let me indicate that in 2021, it was not hosted due to COVID-19. 2022, the estimated budget or total budget approved was 7.799, 799,803 pula. This was the total budget approved. And then the actual expenditure was 9,231,156 pula 39 thebe. And then the variance there was 1,431,353 pula 39 thebe. The contribution from partners, including Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture, now Ministry of Sport and Arts, their contribution was 578 pula 20 thebe. And then in 2023, the total budget approved was 6,996,268 pula 87 thebe. And then the actual expenditure here was 6,831,669 pula 97 thebe. And then the variance here was 164,598 pula 90. And then the contribution from partners, including MISEC, now Ministry of Sport and Arts, was 3.5 million. In 2024, total budget approved was 13,805,925 pula. And then the actual expenditure here was 15,412,304 pula 65 thebe. And then the variance was 1,606,379 pula 65 thebe. And then the contribution was 7 million, that is from partners, including MISEC and staff. And so the contribution was 7,706,152 pula 33 thebe. And this one has not been paid yet. And then in 2025, total budget approved was 4,181,050 thebe. And 50 pula. Actual expenditure here, 3,956,708 pula 86 thebe. And then the variance here was 224,341 pula 14 thebe. And then contribution from other sectors, 3,458,806 pula 69 thebe. The expenditure was supported by an approved budget, and all procurement followed either public tender or request for quotation format, depending on the estimated cost of service, and budget reconciliation was also done after every event. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Kosi Kama.
If I heard the minister well, 2024, the total was 15 million, and then 2025 was 3 million. Why was there such a drop? Because the actual for 2022 was 9, then it went down to 6, and then up to 15. Either why did it shoot up to 15 more than double, and then drop drastically in the following year? No particular consistency. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Tota hela mabaka ke gore ka 2025 Khosi Hora gone gore kana when we got in, we were informed gore Kawa has been hived out to the private sector. And therefore, that understanding that it was now private sector driven, the ministry was not supposed to pay anything. But towards the event, then kana the private sector era nang kgwebo ba tsile ba re ga ba kgona go raisa funding e leng gore e ka go rana kgawa ya nne re kopa gore ba thusiwe gore ba ye go rana that event. And then they brought in a budget ya 9 million pula. When they brought that budget ya 9 million pula, the first thing was to refuse, or no, we have hived this thing to the private sector, so we can't but then after consideration, the brand and everything, the ministry then considered and decided to fund the event ka the 4.181 million pula, hela just for the event to run that year. Next year, for us to be able to now run on our own. It's unfortunate, or even this year, they came back and said we have not managed retweet, but we couldn't.
Oh, so Yahona, it'll be there next year.
Honorable Minister.
Well, I cannot say it will be there next year with any degree of certainty, because the company this event the requirements between themselves and BTO, and therefore between the two breaches the contract requirements. The agreement was that they were going to be able to raise enough funding for the event, but they haven't. But yet that was one of the contract agreement. So they are in discussion with BTO moving forward. So where I am right now, I'm not in a position to say next year nothing, high nothing, or whatever.
Thank you, Minister. The other chairman are saying we shouldn't make statements, but I was just going to say I hope for whichever private company is appointed, they'll be so that they've got plenty of time to prepare from now. The funds. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'll ask the other chairman to excuse you, Khosi. Khosi Puso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question number 37. Thank you.
Honorable Minister of Lands and Agriculture.
Kia leboga Khosi, kia leboga motse wa potso gape le wena o le Khosi. Ke tsena hela ka boripana mo potsong ya ga Khosi. Khosi o batla go itse gore maikaelelo le maikemisetso a puso ke eng go bona gore lehatshe le botlhokwa le ka dirisiwa mo go ntsheng dijo ga le helele le dirisiwa ditsela di sele tse gongwe dingwe tsa tsone e se tse di busetsang setšhaba, mme ke tshwanetse ka wela hela jaana Khosi gore boammaaruri jwa kgang ye o e botsang puso e tshwenyegile ka yone kgang ye, mme puso e dirile maiteko ebile e tswelela e dira maiteko a go bona gore lehatshe leo le le ka ntshang dijo go jesa tšhaba la sireletsega ka tsela e ntseng jalo go bo go nna gore e bona gore be mangwe a maano a go sireletsa lehatshe leo kgosi mme go na le lenaneo ke le le bidiwa National Spatial Plan le leng gore le itemogelo ya lone le dirile leano la gore go dirisiwe lehatshe ka tsela e hapegileng go hepa bone batho kana setšhaba ka kakaretso le tiriso ya lehatshe gore lehatshe le dirisediwa sone se le se kopetsweng kana ha ise jalo ga e re se sa kopelwang lehatshe e bo nna sone se se tsang lehatshe le le tonatona lengwe la maano a NSP ke gore go dirilwe ditsetlana le ditsela tsa gore go dirwe mo go tweng ke rezoning go bona gore lehatshe ha e le gore gatwe ke la temo ga go bua gape go kgotlhelwa ka go dira ditiro tse e seng tsa le itebaganya le tiro eo hela tota ka bokhutshwane kgosi le go bona gore ga go tshamekisiwe lehatshe leo ka go helela e le gore gongwe e re go tshwanetse ga nna le seleka sa tiriso ya lehatshe e bo e le gore a gore ke tla hela ke ba lesaka la dikgomo ke ka ba se ka ihela mo nageng ya Pandamatenga le le tonatona ho le gore tota melahatshe lone ke la temo me ke tshwanetse gore ke gatelele gape gore go na le land policy e supang gore lone lehatshe leo tota le dirisiwa ka tlhamalalo jaaka ne ke bua le gore mme ha le dirisiwa ka tlhamalalo ka le zoning ka teng a le ntsha maduo le gore la gazetiwa gore tota mme ke lone la tiro eo kgosi mme ke batla gore ke tsamaele ko goreng ha godimo ga moo kgosi go na le tiro e gormente o na tswelela ka yone ya mapping ya go bona gore lehatshe leo le tshego ya lone le ha ne le gore tse dingwe go na le madiadia ka lebaka la gore babereki ga ba lekane ba ba rutetsweng le ditsompelo le tsone ga di lekane tse di rutetsweng mme maikaelelo a ga gormente ke go bona gore that gazettement ya diragala gore go itebagangwe le seemo se se tlhamaletseng mme nngwe ya dikgang kgosi tse le gore di berekile mo lehatshe le kana di letleletswe mo tiriso ya lehatshe e ne le dikgang tsa gore lehatshe ha le ntse jalo go letlelelwe batho ba ba nnang mo go lone kana ba ba le dirisa gore ba ka nna le dingwe ditsompelo tse le gore ke tsa nosetso ke ra e le gore a gore ke tse di dirang gore famara yo a ba ka nna le maduo a hetang selekanyo mme ditsompelo tse go buiwa ka yone tiriso ya lehatshe gore o ka seke o kganele gore ha go ntse jalo gore nya mme ke ne ke batla go dira fill station nyana ne ke batla go dira shopo nyana ha ya semausu ne ke batla gore ke dire ha morahe o phuthegante go tswa mo mahelong a mangwe batla go silela ha ke one dingwe tsa dintlha tse le gore puso ene ya di sekaseka ya ba ya di lebagana kgang ye ya ka kgosi ya boditseng ka teng potso a telele mo go maswe kgosi ke ne ke akanya gore dingwe tsa teng ke di atlatlile mme ke batla gore ke go wetsa ka kgang ye leng gore maakanya matonane ke a buile le kgantele ke yone gore puso e gane nya wa banyana gore nya ba gaetso a re ha lehatshe la betse tiro ya sennanne re leke ka bojotlhe gore re dirisa yone tiro eo tota mme bogolo jang thata re se ka ra ba ra tlola 50% wa gore jaanong re dirisa lehatshe tiro e se le gore ga le abelwa jalo ke tsa kere ke ne ka ntsha sekai sa ko Pandamatenga se le gore tota ke lehatshe le le ntshang dijo mme a lehatshe le le ntshang dijo yana go tla bo go se maleba gore gongwe mongwe a ba re nya mme lehatshe le ntshang dijo le nna ne ke kopa gore yanong ke le hetole e nne ko dipitse di sianelang te kana ke le hetole e nne ko e leng gore go ikitsiwang teng bodutu ka go siantsha dithutu yaanong maikaelelo a ga goromente ke ona gore tota lehatshe e nne le le ntshang dijo gore batho ba kgone gore ba happywe kgosi mme ko bohelelong ke batla gore ke gatelele kgaeng kile ka e bua kgantele ke supa gore a nako mme yone ga ya tla ya gore jaanong lehatshe ka bophara goromente setšhaba re seke le ka lone lehatshe la buang ka te go tswa ka bonako le ka le tsamaisiwang ka te le go bona gore a mme lone ditsamaiso tsa lone on daily basis a le dirisiwa ka ha le la bilweng ka te mme se ka kgonagala ya la kgosi ha e le gore di-officera ditsompelo tse di lekanye di teng go ya ka kgaolo le kgaolo ke a leboga kgosi.
Kosi Puso.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. But gongwe ya welang ka yone ke yone tota e ke dumelang gore e botlhokwa go tota there is need for a thorough holistic review ya gore gone mme a le ha se le dirisetswa exactly and precisely se le dirisetsweng go fema the abuse mme ke tla ipalla karabo sentle e feletse modulasetulo ke a leboga chairman ke a leboga honorable minister.
Thank you, Kosi Puso. Honorable Kosi Puso Karabo, Honorable Minister. Kosi Tuma Eleze.
Deferred.
Potsoyeka local government will refer it to a later date. Kosi Kama.
Question 39, Chairman.
Honorable Minister of Environment and Tourism.
Ke a leboga kgosi, ke a leboga modulasetulo. The kgosi tona wa agriculture o netse go ntsobera mme ke ra gore mo le ka mokgalemela.
Ba ba ntsinyalo ke banela our new chairman wa gompieno yo ntsang a kgalema batho.
Mr. Chairman, the hosting rights for the Kawajun Challenge and Cultural Festival were awarded to a private sector entity through a public competitive tender process. The tender details are as follows. Tender title, bid for hosting rights, Kawajun Challenge and Cultural Festival, tender number BTO 018-3101, 2425-bid to host Kawa, contract duration 3 years covering the 2025 to 2027 period. Contract value, not explicitly stated within the awarded hosting rights framework, as the model requires the successful bidder to mobilize and secure event funding in line with the invitation to tender requirements. Mr. Chairman, while Botswana Tourism Organization and its partners outsourced the rights to host the Kawajun Challenge and Cultural Festival, BTO adopted the oversight role to maintain the event standard and intended objective. That is, the private contractor is responsible for the overall planning, execution, and delivery of the Kawajun Challenge and Cultural Festival, including event management, logistics coordination, and mobilization of required funding. Botswana Tourism Organization, the Ministry of Environment and Tourism, and partners retain an oversight and governance role to ensure compliance with agreed standards, alignment with national tourism objectives, and safeguarding of the event's brand integrity and intended development impact. Mr. Chairman, performance of the appointed host was assessed against the following key indicators. 1, successful execution and delivery of the event in accordance with agreed standards and timelines. B, ability to mobilize and secure adequate funding to support the successful staging of the event. 3, compliance with the objectives and requirements outlined in the Hosting Rights Agreement. Mr. Chairman, for the 2026 edition of the event, BTO and its partner ministries did not allocate the budget for the Kawajun Challenge and Cultural Festival. Under Hosting Rights model, the financial responsibility for event delivery rests with the appointed private host, who is required to raise and manage the necessary funds in accordance with the tender specifications. Mr. Chairman, the Ministry of Sports and Arts remains a recognized strategic partner for the Kawajun Challenge and Cultural Festival. The Ministry has expressed its willingness to provide technical and/or program support for the sports and cultural components of the event, either directly or through its relevant entities, including the Botswana National Sports Commission and the National Arts Council of Botswana. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Kosi Babeile.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hakia uklas entre Mdulastilo, lota intwarela. Kene kere ke botse tona gore right halonela company horana this event. Ame batho bane ba ko khawa abana ba re receive. Ya bobedi ke gore right sabe sa batho ba khawa ha event e sena go na hela king ke a leboga
ke tla letla hela Kgosi Babeile me ke potso e sa tsabaleng thata ka ra it's a different question, but I'm sure the honorable minister may be able to answer that.
Ke ne ka re ga ke botsa jaaka Kgosi o itse gore ke tona yo mosha gone kwa ga ke botsa ka consultations tse di dirilweng ke ne ka lekudisiwa ga ile gore batho ba kgawa ba ne ba lekudisiwa ka thulaganyo e ya go privatize the event, mme gape ke bolelelwa ga ile gore gone ko kgawa go ra gone gore go na le di-site tse e leng gore batho ba ba bong ba tsile ko ba ditante tsa bone gone ko mme ba di hirisa mo community yone ya kgawa go ra gone gore dipoelo tse di tswang ho ke tsone tse e leng gore di a ba boela.
Kgosi Khama.
Thank you, Minister.
Marara le honorable ministers ra lunching ka 12:30. I don't think there's enough time ya gore re ka tsenya potso ye nngwe. I think ke tla tsaya bohelo ka gore yena ya referiwa. Kgosi Kabelo.
Ke a leboga Modulasetilong. Question number 40. Be deferred to a later date.
Thank you, Kgosi Kabelo. I think at this juncture, for lunch, re boa ka 2:30, honorable ministers. Baba Santsembana le dipotso tse di setseng. It's 2:30.